may have missed last week, but we're finally back, ladies and gentlemen. Season 17 of the Simrigs Sprint Series, Round 2 at Misano. I know we missed week 1, but thankfully, I got a little something in store for you guys. But good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be, and whenever you may be watching this. My name is Nick Amon, and I'd like to welcome you to tonight's broadcast. It has been a good while since we have all been together under one banner, under one roof, if you will. And what a circuit to be at. Misano, it seems a little decisive in the community. Personally, I've never really found it too fun to drive. I know other people really enjoy it. I know if you're a MotoGP fan, this is like your favorite circuit of all time, or at least one of them. But tonight, it's going to be playing host to some GT3s, and we have some pretty stiff competition this season, as is every season. Now, like I said, we did miss that first week. There was a bit of a time error. I'm not the one that sets the times for these things. That is Mullick. And if you know anything about this organization, they're based out of Australia. And if you can take a guess at where I'm from, 16 hours of time difference, or 15, if depending on whether there's daylight savings involved, is going to cause a little bit of a headache. So we got that all sorted out for this week. I actually asked Mullick to start it early because, while normally if I miss a week, I can just say, oh, well, here's what happened. But I thought, what better way to go over last week's competition at Brands Hatch than a little highlight reel. Drivers were keen to get back out on circuit after our winter break, or after our season break a couple months ago. Plenty of new faces, plenty of old faces coming back, but these were going to be the first bits of qualifying here for the North American Sprint Series, again at Brands Hatch. That was a 2 race. It was a 20-minute first race and then a 40-minute with a reverse grid. And of course, Brands Hatch, I don't think you're going to find someone who hates it, maybe people who don't enjoy driving it, but at the very least, an enjoyable circuit nonetheless. But the big story, of course, Skylar Loverink returning to Sprint, the Jean Alesi esports driver, looking to make it 3 in a row here in North America. He's gone from Lamborghini over to Audi for this season, so we'll see if the Bulls, or the four rings rather, can bring him luck. Speaking of charging bulls, a lot of returning drivers here. The 999 of Clifford is one of them, sticking with Lamborghini. He is absolutely in love with that car. There's no reason that he's ever going to bother getting rid of it anytime soon. And then Dave Hasser in the Send Nudes Craft Dinner Mac and Cheese Racing Ferrari. It's such a stupid livery, but I love it. But it's good to see him back. Same car, same livery as last season. Why would you change that, which doesn't really need to be swapped over? And then Rasco for Bricks Racing. He has gotten back into the swing of things along with a fellow Bricks Racing driver. Not in a McLaren, in a Ferrari, but I'm sure we'll be dealing with that soon enough. Another returning driver, Bandera, in the 69 McLaren as well. He's keeping it clean. Same livery, same car as last season. He's very much found his footing here in North America, and we'll see if he can further propel himself up the grid in due time. Other drivers being added, or returning rather: Lanham, Portis, Flores, Landry, Brown, Wilson, Frizza, Fernandez, Shirley, Hernandez, and Pocket. But it's not just the old guys coming back in. New faces joining the grid: Edward, McCullough, Lemaire, Migliori, Jackson, and McDonald. McDonald did miss the first race of the season, but he should be here tonight. I think I just saw his name pop up in the server, and he's got some pretty solid times here in free practice. But a lot of these guys, new experience for them. They're looking to get their feet wet, maybe go into the deep end by the last race of the season. It's only week 2 of 7, so plenty of time to figure out the grid and figure out who's going to be the problem child for you. But they found themselves right into the first race with Loverink on pole, of course. Just bolted right from the start, never really looked back, up into Druids. He does have Lanham right behind him. You see Portis in the background get spun a little bit, but he gets a little bit of extra contact that rights him. But unfortunately, that wasn't all that happened, because that ended up drawing out a safety car for this first lap. We got to head back, though. It was the 2:27 there. of McCullough. Not what you want. He was bumped into by one person, came back out onto the grass and took 2 others, effectively 3 others with him after all was said and done. So that was the reason for that first safety car this season. Another onboard here. You can see just no time to react. Picks up another, and the entire rest of the field just dashes away. Doesn't really want to be a part of it if they don't need to be. So the first safety car of the season. Can't believe I missed it. I'm usually there for these things, and that kind of sucks. But that is, you know, that's whatever. We'll have plenty of more safety cars as the series develops. Maybe. I'm not going to say that it will happen, but it could happen. But with the restart, Lovering, he was obviously going to be the one to lead everybody off. Just hits the throttle and leaves. Doesn't even wait for anyone behind him. Landry was caught napping. You can see the gap that he already pulls out just off of the restart. Several car lengths. This is going to be the view from the BMW behind. Just couldn't even predict it. Right before the last corner, you think Lovering probably practiced some safety car restarts, as he would have control of the field heading through onto that subsequent lap. We're going to jump ahead a little bit, as we do have the view from Lanham. So Pocket is off at Sheen Corner. Lanham is going to take that one, and now he eyes up Edward in the Aston Martin. This is coming up to the final corner before we head back onto the front straight. He's quite a long ways back, but the Aston Martin just gets that brake point a little bit incorrectly, and now finds himself in probably a less than ideal position, heading side by side down the front stretch, up over the timing line. And as we go into paddock, it's going to be Lanham's corner. No questions asked. He'll be very comfortable heading up into Druids. Portis, though, has some action of his own, eyeing up a move on Hernandez. This is a little while later in the race. Portis sticking with the Honda, but changing up the livery. So out of Druids, one side to the other, gets a much straighter exit, and there's a lot of runoff you can use there on corner exit. Some people see that and they think it's grass, but that's not quite the case. But he finds the opening on the inside at the following corner, gets the power down, pulls away. Absolutely nothing that Hernandez could have done there. Portis says thank you very much, but for Hernandez, it continues the downfalls. He comes up over, does Sheen pretty well. And in the next corner, though, he just breaks a little bit wide, or a little bit late, gets on the power, runs it wide, right into the wall, spins back across track, and Bandera has to take evasive maneuvers, but the Triple Eight, a lot of front-end damage, and that was basically going to be his race over and done with. Not much he could have done. Hasser, later on, finding himself having to play a lot of defense here, as Portis just gets the Honda in such a great position. It feels like it's been forever since the Honda has been competitive, especially after the ballast changes. But side by side with the Ferrari, the inside line belonging to Haas, so you think maybe he can do something about it, but a little bit more momentum being held with Portis as he just swings it around the outside. They are still side by side as we plunge down the hill right under the bridge. But for one of these drivers, it's going to be Hasser. He's going to have to back out. He thinks about it for a moment, tries to battle back, but decides it's better to just stay alive a little bit longer and get towards the end of this race. It was still a great battle there, but the end of race number 1, after 20 minutes, it was Lovering who came home in position number 1, right behind him, very, very close, Landry. You can see just how close, and this was sort of a lot of what they were doing during this race. They were very close to each other, not really giving either driver a chance to breathe. But Lovering takes that first race at Brands Hatch. A little flash there from the BMW saying, good job, man. You absolutely earned that. But the race run results for your top 10, it's Lovering home from Wilson Landry, pardon. Rasco, Brown, Clifford, Portis, Flores, Bandera, and Lanham. And if you know anything about these Super Sprint formats, it's going to be a reverse grid, so 10th is first, 9th is second, 8th is third, so on and so on, which means Lanham will be starting on pole position at the start of race number 2. And because the grid is swapped around and because it is a delayed start, we are moving a little bit further up, but as we go into Paddock Bend, it's a lot nicer this time around. You can see just how much that was needed for him because he's got nothing to worry about in front of him. Everybody's battling behind him. A little bit of contact there with the Porsche and the Ferrari Flores, the inflicting driver there. But it's a much better start. No safety cars, thankfully, this race. Let's just take a look again at the race start from Brown here. He's sitting down 6th position. He's got Flores there ahead of him. And even though these guys are up towards the top end of the grid, they are still having to be extra careful to make sure that they don't take somebody else out. Still side by side through Druids. There's that contact I just talked about. Now this here is from Lovering, and if you know Lovering, he is quite deadly. Doesn't matter what you put him in, he's gonna make it work one way or another. So on board with the 52 Audi, as he starts looking at the pack here, figuring who is he going to go for. First one is going to be Rasco. He was shoved wide, almost taking out one of the McLarens, and Clifford as well. And then just the charge there. Brown in the BMW, no chance. Frizza as well, best effort as he could, but it's just not going to be enough. 3 positions for Loverink in one corner later on in the lap. Migliori having to do battle. Unfortunately for him, he's not going to have the same sort of success on the inside. He's going to lose 1 position. And as he comes out, pocket there behind in the fellow McLaren, he's going to get a bit of a run here. You see one of the BMWs stopping. I believe that was a mechanical issue on the rig itself, but down in the paddock. Just outbrakes himself a little bit. That invites Pocket on the inside, and that's a perfect lineup for Druids. Pocket brave on the brakes, does get it done. A little bit of contact. But no harm, no foul there. They carry on as though nothing happened. For Migliori, another debutant here in the Sprint Series. So he's got some work to do. And then there's just a little bit of problems there with Bandera. That back end of the McLaren, infamous for stepping out, and it's going to do that there. Takes out Rasco. Nothing he could have done there to save it. Moving forward, Loverink again does not have any worries here. He's going to go side by side with the McLaren. And into the left-hander, gets the job done. At this point, anybody that knows Lovering knows just get out of the way. Don't even bother trying to stop him because he's going to make you move one way or another. Now, this is Frizza. Has a little bit of front-end damage, but he's eyeing up Lemaire in the Ferrari just ahead of him. He's got a little bit of a run. Slightly different line, though. He's going to try to go for a straighter exit, and he gets just that. A great exit there, right on the power. Beautifully breezes by Lemaire. No chance there. Ferrari just has to concede and slot in behind. Maybe get a little bit of the slipstream, but clearly that wasn't enough because you can just see Frizza leaving the scene. Now, we had a little bit of an accident. Lemaire on Pocket. Just a slight touch. It was just later on the brakes, and at that point, physics did the rest. Thankfully, my game just crashed. Thankfully, that there was nothing big on the damage charts. It was merely just a little touch, spin around. We're going to see, of course, the motion from behind, and just spinning him around. Everyone else will come through. Replay's going to probably get a little bit jittery here, but this is Clifford. He's now thinking, hey, I saw somebody do some overtakes. Now it's my turn. On to Frizza. No chance there. Great run. The 2 cars up ahead, having a little bit of a battle. He's going to go past Fernandez, and then he will try to just look on the inside there of the BMW, but can't get the job done. Has to just get off the throttle, let it go, and hopefully find something later on in the race as they go down towards Sheen. It was a good attempt. But Bandera here, this is behind a couple of his fellow McLarens. And it is going to get a little bit tricky here for the 69 as he comes into turn number 1, makes contact, spins himself around 90 degrees, stomps the throttle, spins it around, gets the other 270 degrees of rotation in, and he carries on his way like nothing happened at all. Now McCullough, as if we weren't done with him. He gets up towards Sheen, just drops it on the grass a little bit, slides one way, snaps the other, and then right on the racing line, every driver having to take evasive action there. A little bit of a damaged ego, but that's okay. Nothing that's too difficult to work with. and we just have some more footage on board. The McLaren's still just a lot of problems, it feels like, for the McLarens here in ACC. I've driven it. It's never fun. And speaking of McLaren's pocket, once again, he's already got some front end damage. Just not the race he wants, as he is coming up towards Sheen. He actually gets it decently well, but the problem is there's another corner after that. So Sheen's done very well. Throws it into the left-hander, just runs it a little bit wide, stays on the throttle about halfway, and then just slams the wall. Just devastating front-end damage. That was his race. He managed to get back to the pits and get to the checkered flag, but that was going to be it for him. Now, Frizza and Wilson showing what it means to have respect and just show how good it can be to race in this game. But there's a little tap there. I don't know if you caught it, but a little bit of a tap moves the other driver out of the way, and that is going to cause a little bit of issues from behind. You can see the light flash there from Frizza saying, "What are you doing? Pushing me out of the way. Give me that position back. You know it's not yours." But there was really nothing that could be done at that point. And then Clifford with Wilson having to do some side-by-side down the hill. And then up into the right, Clifford, a lot of experience under his belt, and he is not going to let that one slip easily. But keeping with it, even with suboptimal lines, he's just not giving up. He wants everything he can, and he's looking to try to go side-by-side through Sheet Corner. That's always tricky, but he just dips it on the grass, slides a little bit, loses that time, loses the position. Wilson did run wide. All credit, but the problem is it's not going to help, and another snap. He catches it beautifully, but he's going to be furious with himself off of that. That is not how he wants to lose the position, but at the end of it all, from the man who started on pole, he's going to get to the checkered flag first. It was Lanham ahead of Portis. Portis flashing the headlights saying, "Great job, man. You absolutely deserved that win." And he surely did. And yeah, I don't know if you caught it, but right behind Loverink, so close on Landry. He had a run out of the final corner, a little bit of a slipstream to give him just slightly extra speed, but it was going to be a day late and $1 short. He would have to settle for, well, not quite fourth, but knowing Loverink, he'd be more than happy with placing in the top 5 at the very least. But it was Lanham ahead of Portis, Flores, Landry, Loverink, Brown, Wilson, Clifford, Rasco, and Frizza, your top 10. Now, in the meantime, folks, while we have some problems, ACC's being a little bit weird right now, just verifying a few things, we'll actually take the moment, of course, to shout out Simrigs, sponsoring another season of the Sprint Series out of Melbourne, Australia. What have I not talked about them? They have quite literally everything you may ever need for your sim racing setup: wheels, bases, shifters, handbrakes, pedals. They even got gloves. So if you're looking to upgrade, maybe you've got someone's birthday coming up, maybe an anniversary, whatever the case may be, they are going to be there for you. Of course, these guys based out of Australia, they are going to be servicing all of Australia and New Zealand. No questions asked, but if you live outside those borders, if you send them an email, fairly certain they'd be happy to do some business with you, take some of those hard-earned dollary dues of yours. And if you are supporting this organization via Patreon, you guys are going to be getting a 5% off code for your purchases, so do take advantage of that. I've said it once, I will say it again, this hobby is not cheap by any means. Even starter wheels are closing in on $200. But if you're more of a veteran and you're looking to spruce it up a bit, hey, Simrigs has got you covered. So thank you again to Simrigs for sponsoring another season of the Sprint Series, and of course we hope to see them again more in the future. But folks, we are not on track. We are actually loading in. Don't know what caused it, some weird execution or whatever it may be. So hopefully we can get back into things just in time for qualifying, as believe it or not, I did have Mullick set it back about 30 minutes, because it was supposed to be at 9. I asked him to do it at 8:30. He did, because I was like, hey, highlights. So hopefully everything's all set. I know this game is perfectly coded, quote unquote here. And then we should be getting into the game. Just find this really quick. Not the first time this has happened. It's not an everyday occurrence, but it's certainly not new. And hopefully we'll be on track, and we should be racing. Hold on. There it is. Just in time for the end of free practice. When I tell you this is the greatest organization, I'm not just saying that. I mean it, and it's definitely not because I did something really good and it just happened to work out in the end. No bias. But hey, it worked. Free practice, of course, nothing to really go off of. Jonathan Clifford, though, the 999, he's got the fastest lap here with a 132.9, the only driver to make it into the 132s. Love Rank, surprisingly, in 7th position, because he's only got a 133.6. So perhaps maybe the Audi is not the move. I don't know if there have been rule changes that allow for car swaps, and if there is, it's probably going to be one, but yeah, Clifford running it up top. Landry in the 710 BMW, 33.33, and then Portis in 3rd. It has been a long time since I've seen Portis this high up, and I gotta say I'm very happy he is up there. 33.54 here in practice. Frizza is 4th, 33.58, and Carpenter rounding out the top 5 in the Mercedes. Carpenter, another returning driver here. Very familiar name in North American Sprint and even in our special events, our endurances, you know, the 8, the 9, the 10, 12, 24-hour races. Carpenter, one of the very amazing representatives for North American OOR. So good to see him back. Harold McDonald for Fear Nothing Moto. His first race in the 182 Ferrari, doing a little sidestep there, getting ready. He's in 11th position here in free practice, a 134.16 to his name. And his teammate, Tyler McCullough, in the 227 McLaren. Of course, we saw him. He's got a new livery there on his McLaren, also for Fear Nothing Moto. So good to see him. Lucas Lemaire, the 510, new face. Patrick Nelson, rocking a very nice looking, very classic looking McLaren livery. I'm a huge fan of it. Craig Migliori in the 11 for a very appropriately named team. Edwin Edwards, the Aston Martin driver. He is sitting at the back. Hasn't set a time yet. And then Nathan Mercado. This is another fresh addition to North American Sprint in the 42. No lap from him either. So we're going to see where these two end up placing once qualifying gets going. But for now, Clifford taking top marks. Still that 32.95. That's a statement. Especially when the next guy is almost 4/10 back from you. I don't think we have anybody. The only person we have out on pit is Joel Bandera. His best at 34.32. Which actually was coincidentally his last lap. He's not on an improvement, but he's at least getting that last little bit of practice. And as I say that, he goes into the pit lane. So we are getting ready for qualifying. And if I know anything, it's going to be Clifford. He is always the first person out of the pit lane every single time without fail. And I love it. And right behind him, of course, that's the 710 of Landry. And everyone else getting ready. There's been some setup adjustments between practice, qualifying, and race trim. There's Portis as well. I know Clifford is very secretive about what he does with his setups. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can carry that success from practice into qualifying. Now 15 minutes on the clock. This will set us up for a 60-minute two-stopper. And it's going to be under the lights. Now, mandatory stops, it changes every time, each race. Sometimes it's tires, sometimes it's fuel. This time, though, it is going to be tires, so 30 seconds sitting still, not accounting for damage, if any. And, of course, if drivers decide to refuel, then it is going to be during the tire change, so 30 seconds regardless. That does bring into question the options of running higher fuel load or lower fuel load. Of course, this game does take that into account when calculating all sorts of physics, and speed is definitely one of them. Some drivers opt to just get all the fuel they need, get out there, carry on, and go from there. Others like to underfill and then maybe get a couple of extra miles per hour during some battles. We'll see what Clifford does, though, especially here at Misano. One of the few Italian circuits, but onto the front straight. We're going to ride on board with him. The 999 crossing the line. He's going to start that first timed lap. sending it right into turn number 1. Late on the 50 board, a little bit of gas to get you through turn 1. Swings it around turn number 2 into 3. You can really cut the inside there. Pretty much go beyond the white line, if barely. And then another just before the 50 board. Cutting the apex close on the inside. Run as much as you can outside, back over the apex. And just again, you really just murder these curves. Got to be careful, though, outside. Got those sausage curves. They don't look too threatening, but if you go over one, that front end's coming up, and so is the back end. You pretty much ride the curve here just after the 100 board, downshift. Keep it neat and tidy. Run it as wide as you can. I think he might just barely be on the limit there. Now the double complex corners, very tricky. It looks easy on the surface until you run into it and you realize just how much time you can gain or lose, especially onto the back straight here. Incredibly important to hold as much speed as you can. I know it's got a turn in the middle of it, but it's effectively the back straight. Another option of just murdering the inside and keep it outside here. Some drivers do opt for the inside line, but you're pretty much throwing the car into the turn right at the end. It's a very tricky braking zone to get right. More inside. Just track limit abuse to the highest order. More sausage curves on the inside to deter you, but that's not really the case for Clifford as he brakes at the 50 board, a downshift, and back onto the front straight. Where is this Lamborghini gonna set the bar? It's gonna be a 33.66. Who has an answer? Portis comes across 34.08. Landry sets a 34.01, but it's not gonna count. It was invalid. 35.07 for McDonald. Also doesn't help. Lovering goes up to P2. 100th of a second off of Clifford. Probably sandbagging in the bits of free practice. So that'll push Portis down. Spencer Brown goes into 4th with a 34.27. Then it's going to be Frizza, who's right behind him. Rasco for Bricks Racing in the 135. He's got a 34.53. Austin Carpenter making a statement there in the Mercedes for Alpha Sim Sport, a 34.15 for him. Larry Lanham, 9th position, 34.98. Jose Flores will lead us into the 35s. And as I say that, Dan Fernandez decides that he just barely wants to pip into the 34s with a 34.99. Tyler McCullough, 13th position after one lap. He is going to be, I think, holding up a little bit of traffic here. 36.420. Not a blazingly fast speed, but it helps enough. Lucas Lemaire, the 5'10", 37.47 for him. Craig Migliori has a 38.18 for his first lap, and then it's everybody else. And as I say that, I just saw Bondera go up into 11th, a 35.08 for him. And everyone else either yet to post a lap or posting a lap that went outside of track limits. So we'll keep an eye and see who's got some moves. And it's going to be the Pokemon squad there of the 91 of Andrew Wilson. 33.54 puts Loverink down a bit. I think Loverink's not going to improve. No, he's not. Clifford's still holding on by quite a margin now. It's a 33.31. Perhaps I have been duped for this first race, or for the first little bit of qualifying there. But we'll see who else around the paddock is improving. Dan Fernandez with a 34.99. And he is improving by a few tenths, so he'll come across the line here out of the final corner, just behind Migliori. He's going to move up, push Lanham out of the way. And we'll see other drivers. It's a good split of improvements and not improving and out laps. And it's still very early in qualifying, just under 9 minutes to go here. Joel Bondera, another such driver who is improving. Few tenths. This would put him into the 34s, and it could put him in a provisional P10, and it does. Pushes McDonald down, trying to be, well, I would say the best of the McLarens, but that is belonging to the spin right here. Andrew Wilson, just about a little under quarter of a second behind Clifford, who has put in the first 32 of qualifying. You wonder if he's going to go back and make some setup adjustments, or if he's just going to park it and say, all right, guys, there's the flag. Go and get it. Landry also coming back in half a second. And I hear Loverink a 33.39. 420 behind. 420 was not too long ago, but I don't think anyone got the memo. Brian Rasco, I see a huge improvement from him right up to P2. 33-33, keeping it nice and uniform there. 135, good stuff. There's another couple of improvements as well. Eduardo Sanchez, good to see him back in the same livery. Oh, there's no, usually has some, I don't know, some anime character on the side of it. I'm not seeing that, unless it's on the other side. But it's the same livery, it's just slightly different. But we'll see if maybe he has a surprise for us. We'll get a nice view of the left side of the car. Nope. Unfortunate. I thought he was going to have something in store for us, but that's okay. The liveries are always one of my favorite things about this, just seeing the creativity. Shout out Kevin Parody if you see this. He's had some absolutely brilliant liveries in the season, or even just seasons past. Just welcoming everybody. JC, ever get bored of being OR's best commentator? I'm just good, bro. I'm not the best. Come on. I appreciate that. Hamster Prime, good to see you guys again. Steel, good to see you, my boys. Out here. Joris, shouting out Landry. Oh, Sanchez, that's a little too wide. I don't think that lap is going to count. It's not a 33.82. That would have put him P8. Because Frizza just went up to P7. So Sanchez does have the pace. It's just making it work. That's not working out for him. So Edwards and Sanchez, the only drivers who have yet to set a lap this session. Plenty of time still in the bag. Lanham running it out wide again. He's got a couple tenths. Is it going to count? It does. Into 13th. Sidesteps Bandera. I think that's it for right now. We have Patrick Nelson, one of the newer drivers here in North American Sprint. He's got a 37.87 to his name, down in 21st position, but he's trying to get that delta up as much as he can. He's trying to find any sort of improvement. He's got a couple tenths out of the corner though, but can he keep it together? The first left-hander navigated perfectly. He's getting to the braking zone right after those strips start. Runs it out as wide as he can. He's going to grab a few more tenths. Where is this going to put him from 21st to 20th? Incredible lap, but it's just not going to work out in the end. I was for sure thinking he was about to go way up the grid, but that doesn't appear to be the case. Austin Carpenter still improving, 9th place at the moment, 34.15 for him. He's going to swing it one corner into the next. He's got about half a second on his personal best. Brian Rasco, surprisingly, still in P2. For a second, I thought that was new. It wasn't. The last corner for Carpenter. Where does this find his Mercedes? If half a second is what he's got, he's going to be in the 33s, and that will be P7. Thought for a moment it didn't count. Thankfully, it did for him. Larry Lanham, another improvement's going to be coming through. There's Portis. Portis right now in P6. Lanham goes to P9. So sitting in that top 10 just barely. And Nathan Mercado was on an improvement, missing his brake point, and that is going to destroy his lap. He's going to have another few attempts, so it's not all doom and gloom for him. Joe Bandera right now running with a 4-minute time is still improving. But of course, that's not really going to count. Jonathan Clifford's still on pole with that 32.97. He's out there. He's trying to find more time. Which, if he can do that, is going to be amazing. He is even. Never mind, he runs wide, so this lap doesn't really mean anything. But the fact for a while he was sitting there was no positive or negative change. He was right on it. Shows you just how potent of a driver he is. Oh, I thought Chris Frizza just went on pole. I was incorrect. Who else is improving? Harold McDonald. Let's see what he's got. We've given him enough time away from the camera. Time to put him front and center. He's in P15 right now, just about half a second improving at the moment. If he can get this together, he could take well into maybe 12th. He could overtake his teammate McCullough. but he's gonna have to find a little bit more time, and he's just dropped a couple tenths somewhere in the last couple corners. But up to the timing line, where's it gonna be? It's only 12, but what matters is he has overtaken his teammate. Slightly different colors on the liveries, and of course different classifications. McCullough is in amateur class. McDonald is silver. Has yet to... I think silver we've changed to be its actual own thing. In the past it was a sort of provisional rank. But I think this season we are going to say, hey, this is a rank that you can have. So for McCullough, though, less than 2 tenths behind someone who is effectively in a higher class, that should worry some people. And by some people, I mean a certain somebody in the 182 Love Rink. He's going to have to make Clifford worry because he's got a few tenths. Is it enough for pole position? It's not. He drops it out of the final corner. It looked a little bit weird on the exit. Love Rink, a 33.14. He's pushing for that 32. Because keep in mind, Clifford with that 32.972. So it's not like there really needs to be a whole lot extra gained. McCullough, just talking about him being close to his teammate. He may overtake, actually, as he comes out of the final corner. We'll see where he ends up from 14th. He stays. Bondera, 15th, goes to 11th. Closing in on the top 10, just under a tenth of a second behind Lanham, who is in the pits. I think Lanham might be done for this session. McDonald, though, 14th. Does he go any higher? He does go to 13th. Puts Brown as a bit of a buffer in between himself and McCullough. Improvement-wise, Andrew Wilson, the 91. He's going to be using every move he's got with those 4. I think I know which Pokemon he may want to utilize if he wants a bolt to speed, a little bit of electrifying lap times, if you will. As he gets into last corner of Misano to the line from 5th. Does he go any higher? Up to 4th, just around Landry. He is going to best Landry just under a tenth of a second there between the two, but improvements are improvements, and we're seeing a lot come through, actually, a lot of positive deltas for these drivers. Edwards, one of the few Aston Martins on the grid. Keogh is the other one, another returning driver of Ben Keogh. Great to have him back from 22nd. He just goes into 20th. He's going to get around Migliori and Nelson. No problem there. He's going to take it. And we are in the final 20 seconds, so they've crossed the line already. They have another shot. If not, well, you gotta get as much as you can if you want to get back. We'll take a look at the track map. We'll see who's out there. The 883 of Carpenter is improving from 6th place. He will stay, but just gets a little bit of time over Portis. He'll be more than happy with that, and he did reach the line in the nick of time, so he's going to be happy about that. Portis is going to just come across the line in 7th, 300ths between himself and Carpenter. Two guys very good friends here in the Sprint Series. Keogh, can he get into the top 10? He does with a 33.68. That's going to be good news for him. Spencer Brown, does he want to keep himself as a buffer for McDonald, or does he want to go ahead? And he's going to go right up to 11th with a 33.88 at the buzzer. Is there anybody else improving? There is. And it's none other than Skylar Loverink for Sean Lacey Esports. One of the most dangerous drivers here, not in terms of be careful, he's going to punt you, but in the case of he's just going to leave you in the dust. You can see how much input is just on that steering wheel. Crosses the line, and he gets pole position away from Clifford. 32.84. And he was struggling for so long to keep up, and Loverink somehow reminds Clifford of who he is and what he's here to do. And folks, if you know anything about what is happening right now with the music, you know it's time for a good walk. One of my favorite things to do here in the Sprint Series. You get to look at all the liveries. Some of them don't load. I know it's a little bit weird, and I apologize for that, but I can only do as well as the livery sync will let me. We are getting ready for a night race. 60 minutes, 2 mandatory stops. Still a little bit of light out. Not really dark enough for the lights to come on, but by the end of this race, we are going to be seeing those headlights getting lit up. But lighting things up is Loverink with a last-second Hail Mary of a lap to snipe pole position away from Clifford. Just over a tenth between the two after seeming to struggle for the entirety of practice and qualifying. Loverink just scoffs at a time, puts his own there, and says, "Follow me, boys. I'll show you how it's done." Landry finds himself in position number 3. Rasco is in 4th, and Andrew Wilson will make his way into the top 5 once again. Behind him is going to be the Mercedes of Austin Carpenter in the 883. He's got some work to do if he wants to overtake a few friends of his in the Sprint Series. And behind him, of course, Kenneth Portis. He's, well, one of the most well-known characters, at least, that I would say in North American OOR, and especially having raced against him. Very good at what he does. He's going to line up on 7th spot, and then it's Ben Keogh returning in the Aston Martin. He lines up 8th on the grid. He'll round out that 4th row, and then it's going to be Frizza and Flores 9th and 10th respectively to give us our top 10 for this race. Spencer Brown's 11th from Canada, and Larry Lanham, you just saw him right side, he's going to be 12th. Eduardo Sanchez, no waifu on the car this time, but that's okay. He'll be more than happy with 13th position. Joel Bandera, 69, doing a nice job there of lining up 14th. Row 8 of the grid, though, belonging to the Fear Nothing Moto duo of Harold McDonald and Tyler McCullough. Very close on the times, and you can see the lights turning on. That means we are under 30 seconds, so we should be getting this race underway very soon. Dan Fernandez 17th with Dave Hasser to keep him company in 18th position. Jaden Hernandez and Lucas Lemaire, the new debutant here, the 5'10". That's going to be your 10th row on this grid. And then it's Edwin Edwards, Patrick Nelson, Craig Migliori, and Nelson Mercado are going to round out the 24 cars on the grid here tonight. Engines are rumbling, the lights are on. If you don't hit start, by the time those 30 seconds are up, you're going to be starting from the pit lane. But it looks like everybody has done just that. So while we give these drivers a moment, of course, to get themselves situated, we'll give a quick shout out to Simrigs for sponsoring Season 17 of the Sprint Series. And if I know anything, is we're probably going to have them around for quite a while. Not that I'm complaining or anything. Absolutely incredible to have them under our banner. Melbourne, Australia. Anything sim racing that you can think of, they've probably got it for you. So if you're looking to upgrade or just make things look a little bit more professional, well, Simrigs has got you covered. So thank you again to them. If you're in Australia, New Zealand, you don't have to worry about anything. Just place your order and it's shipped. But if you're like me, outside of that, make sure you send them an email. They'd be more than happy to give you some business. And of course, if you're a Patreon member, you guys are going to be getting 5% off your in-store purchases, so take advantage of that, please. This is a very expensive hobby, if there's anything to go off of. But back on track here, we have all the drivers coming through right now, getting ready for 60 minutes of racing here at Misano. 2 mandatory stops to keep everybody in check. There's no pit window, so it's no issue if you come in right away or if you wait a little bit. We are still single file for right now. I'm gonna also fix this. There we go. That looks a lot better. Sure, unless you really want to be staring in the mirror there with a 100 something millimeter lens. Doesn't matter. We're side by side though. Getting ready for the race. Take a look at where we are on the track itself. The 11 of Migliori, excuse me. Starting from the pit lane. So positive there. He's gonna have a whole track to himself. Maybe some undercut will work. But we are getting through Sector 3 right now. Sector 3 feels like it kind of just goes on forever. But I want to hear your guys' predictions. Who do you think's going to win this race? Is anybody going to take Loverink down? Is it going to be Clifford? Could it be Landry? Maybe someone else? Maybe Frizza, who we're on board with? Maybe it's someone outside the top 10. If I know one thing, it ain't going to be easy. Especially when you have 2 incredibly talented drivers here at the front of the grid. Lovrink and Clifford, both Lamborghini drivers last season, but this time it's Lovrink that decides to go with a German manufacturer. We're green, green, green here at Misano. It's an even getaway for just about everybody there. Carpenter having to do a little bit of blocking there from Keogh as we head into turn number 1, 3 wide, almost 4 wide in the background. Clifford having to just drop back a little bit, but that looks to be Wilson losing several spots. Carpenter's going to take advantage of that. There's Keogh, there's Portis as well. 3 wide in the background for those guys. And it is Keogh that's going to step out of that one. A bump there on the Ferrari from the Porsche of Flores. That is going to send, I believe, Frizza down the line. And that is not how you want to start this race as we wait for everything to update. Edwin Edwards grabbing some positions side by side there with Lemaire as he gets an overtake done on Nelson. No contest at all, and it was Frizza that did, and that is McCullough. McCullough is off the road. Get a replay of that. We're going to see what happened. He is in the McLaren. I almost wonder if the back end of it got a little bit loose. So as we're coming out, it's slipping, it's sliding. There it is. Just casual McLaren things. And that is not what you want to do if you're McCullough. But 60 minutes, plenty of time. You can see the gap with Lovrink already getting away from Clifford. But Clifford's lucky he's on his own right now. The same can't be said for Landry as he's getting a little bit wild there out of the final corner. Is Rasco going to be close enough to make a move? I don't think so. He has a bit of a slipstream, can't utilize it properly, but that's going to be no skin off the back at Landry. He's not going to care. He's going to say, man, yeah, man, do whatever you want. As long as I keep my position, we are golden. But despite a couple of touches and some spins, it has been a very solid start as we do see Spencer Brown making a move there on Ben Keogh. Does he get the job done? No, I think almost making contact there with the Aston Martin. But pulls out of that one in time, slots in behind, and he has a gap, a pretty sizable gap to Flores. We'll check in with Lemaire. The 5'10", new driver with Frizza, the veteran, looking on the inside. Is the job done? Yes, it is. Later on the brakes there for Frizza, showing the new guys just what it means to be one of North America's best. And we're going to see just how far up the field Frizza can make it by the time 60 minutes expires. His next target is going to be Edwards. As the background, we see Patrick Nelson losing a position to Jaden Hernandez. Hernandez back in that BMW from last season. We do see Nathan Mercado and Joel Bandera. These guys, oh, a lot of front-end damage there on Bandera. I don't know what happened exactly. Probably something that we missed on camera, but that is not a happy-looking McLaren, but he can't be happy about the fact that he's got to move on the inside and does get it done. No defense from Mercado. Playing the long game. Check back in. Larry Lanham, winner of race number 2 last week at Brands Hatch, finds himself 12th position with 2 McLarens bearing down on him. It is Fernandez and Sanchez. You can see Sanchez actually losing out quite a lot. He was very close into turn number 1, but probably got a little bit squirrely on exit. Fernandez, though, it's a slightly different story. Pushing everything he can, really just holding the gear where it needs to be. Carry as much speed as he can and not worry about spinning out. Breaking the same with Lanham along the inside. I think Lanham got it a little bit better. Whoa, Fernandez, big moment there. Catches the slide by the skin of his teeth. That's going to invite Sanchez into the mix. And that will give Lanham a little bit of a breather. You can see, and this is sort of the last place you want someone who's going to be a couple of tenths behind you. A lot of slipstream, but it's not giving him enough of a boost. Sanchez, I think he was just starting to close in, but realized exactly where he was. Almost some rear bumper contact. You can see Hasser behind. He is waiting in the shadows. Maybe these guys get together. Maybe they battle enough to pull him into it. whatever the case may be, he's going to have to just bide his time. And actually, Fernandez, despite his hiccup, is still staying ahead and actually gaining time. So that's very good news for him as he overcooks it a little bit to turn 1, but gathers it up quite nicely. We'll check with Jose Flores down in P10. He's got Brown in front of him, McDonald behind him. And just behind that's going to be Larry Lanham. And there is Ben Keogh, front of shot, exiting stage right. I guess we stage left, depending on how you're looking at it. And up ahead, so we'll keep an eye on those guys. Brian Rasco with Andrew Wilson. This is the battle for P4. Just up ahead is Landry. Landry's been doing a great job. And look at Clifford up ahead. He's sticking with Loverink. You remember last season, it was Loverink just in the same car as Clifford, but just somehow gaining God knows how much time per lap. But that's not the case. Maybe the Audi is holding him back a little bit. But gaps are starting to normalize a little bit. We have a few tenths across the board. A few seconds depending on where you're looking. But these two, Fernandez and Sanchez, they are just right close with each other. Sanchez is saying, you can have 13th, but you got to make sure I don't get past you. At the same time, Fernandez saying, come and get it. And he might actually be able to get it here as we get onto the front straight to start lap 4 of this race. Sanchez into turn 1. Same car, he's going to try to throw it around the outside into the inside, and Brown is stuck right in the center of the circuit, and he comes back and picks up Hasser. Sanchez. Oh, that is bad news for Brown. That is not what you want. This, oh God, this is going to be a mess right here. So that is the Audi. That's Loverink, who makes contact with Keogh. Brown invites himself to the inside. That looks like netcode. Over the inside. He's on this... Oh, God, just as we lose the shot, gets slammed on the left side. So something happened to Loverink. I saw a yellow flag come out. I wasn't quite sure what caused that. But Loverink's now in 7th position, which promotes Clifford to 1st. So this is already not even 10 minutes in so much drama. And there's more. There's more happening. It's Dave Hasser now. This is with Edwards in the Aston Martin. He's outside line for Hasser. He's later on the brakes, gets the corner, and it's just the touch there from Edwards, who just comes to a complete stop in the background. It looks like the BMW, that's Lemaire, and I believe, not McCullough, I believe that was Hernandez, spinning in sympathy for what just transpired. And Brown picks up a drive-through for track limits, and I thought he just lost it there. So an odd series of events here, very quickly, in rapid succession. Speaking of rapid, it's Frizza who's pretty quick with Fernandez. The battle for 13th goes the way of the Ferrari here at Misano, home soil for the Italian manufacturer. Fernandez out of those next couple corners, just can't get any sort of traction, can't get any speed on the circuit, and that's going to be that. Nelson starting to come under threat. Dave Hasser behind with more speed. He's going to be side by side. Yes, he is. I thought he pulled away. Actually, doesn't have the move done at all. I think that front end damage might have something to do with it. But just like that, back on the attack to the inside. And I think Nelson's just going to let him through, and he's going to let Brown through. He's not going to fight it. Playing it more like it's a pub race. You're trying to get your safety rating up. You're just going to let people go. But it's his strategy, not ours. We're not trying to run it for him. We've had some stops already. McCullough and Bondera clearing their first of 2 mandatory stops. Don't know if that was intentional or not. Hasser running wide. We should be seeing drivers go 20-20 on pit stops. Just try to keep it even as best you can as Brown loose out of the corner, but he's going to go and clear that drive-through right away. Make sure he doesn't pit. If he does pit, it's not going to do anything. You cannot clear a drive-through penalty and do a pit stop at the same time. So hopefully, this is going to be the drive-through being served for the number 12 car. He is going to go right to the back of the grid. He's going to be 20th, and where is he going to come out? I had to bet on it. He may be coming out no further, because I don't think Mercado's gotten back. He hasn't, so it's going to be some positions lost, but not a lot. One of the longest pit lanes in this game. This is one of my least favorite parts about this race. We'll check to see where Mercado is at. Mercado offline, and he's not going to gain a position. So Spencer Brown having to go for 20th position after his little escapade. Kenneth Portis. Oh, he's looking at the back of the 91 of Wilson, and just ahead is Rasco. It's better for the Honda. All the power. We are not running the LFM ballast, so the Honda is able to just run from patches gone by, back when you couldn't go into a pub lobby without seeing at least 6 Hondas. Given if it was a 10-person race, everybody would be having it. If anything more than that, you might as well have 90% of the server running it. But Kenneth Portis really giving Andrew Wilson the big hurry up. I saw somebody, it said somebody had stopped. I saw that. Somebody had stopped. I didn't know who it was. I don't think it was McDonald. But one thing's for certain, he's got Keogh just ahead of him, and just ahead of that is Flores. We have Dave Hassler in the pit lane. He's probably going to go for tires and damage because that car is beaten up quite a lot. Keogh thought about it on the inside of Flores, decided better. Behind that, Frizza and Sanchez to keep things interesting, and Keogh gets spun. And if there's anything I would be willing to bet on, it might be McDonald making an error. We'll take a look, see what happens. He's later on the brakes. Oh, it's just a little too late on the brakes, because that's going to spin Keogh out. There is Sanchez as well as Frizza going through. So McDonald going down to 12th position. Not what he wants to do. Austin Carpenter coming into the pit lane. So this is Carpenter, the first of the top 10 to come into the pits this race. Brown in the pit lane for his first stop. And McDonald decides to come in as well. Right behind him, Fernandez. So the 2 McLarens coming in. Got to be careful. Make sure you get it slowed down. If you've ever wondered, it is the rear axle of the car that gets counted for the pit lane speed limit. Because in the real life cars, I think that's where the little, I guess, transponder is located. So just keep that in mind next time. Or, just brake early like I do, because you don't trust yourself. You got to check back in. This is the battle for 8th. Still raging on. Frizza and Sanchez with Keogh in the background. Waiting to see if maybe he can pick something up here. It's going to be tricky, though. The pace out of Sanchez is a 36.7. Frizza with a 35.3. Now, I think that was due in part to the bit of contact we saw earlier. But even if you look at their best laps, Sanchez is a 34.24. Frizza a 33.79. And then for Keogh, it's a 34.5. So he's actually the slowest of this group I just talked about. So Sanchez is thinking of if Frizza passes me, and Frizza is thinking of when he passes Sanchez. Depending on the pace, and depending on especially where Frizza gets close, can either go for a move, or if he's unlucky enough, it is just going to fall to the wayside. McDonald picking up a stop-go 30. For, I believe, speeding in the pit lane. I think that will get swapped over. If not, it will stay as a stop-go 30. He'll have to serve that and then come back around and do it all again. We're going to check in with Wilson. He's got Portis all over his rear bumper, and Rasco is just barely staying out of this fight. And I gotta agree with JC. Having a Honda that high up just shows you how good Portis is as a driver overall. It just seems like he's sticking with that thing through thick and thin, hell or high water. He wants the Honda. And if there's ever a guy you wanted behind the wheel, it was gonna be him. Fernandez, stop go 30. So both the McLarens speeding in the pit lane. It's a 50 kilometer, I believe, yeah, 50 kilometer an hour speed limit in the pit lane. And look who's behind the trio. Skylar Lovrink, 6th position. If he gets through all of these guys, it'll be 3rd. He's got to get to Landry and Clifford. With 44.5 minutes to go, Clifford has fastest lap of a 33.28. And he is consistently running in the 33s. Looks like McDonald's going to be getting his stop, go 30, cleared immediately, and Portis dived to the pit lane. Going to try to undercut these two if they do decide to come in this lap. So we should be seeing the majority of the grid starting to come in, as we are just about 20 minutes down on this race. Like I said earlier, drivers might opt to go 30-30, or sorry, not 30-30, 20-20. But we'll see. You never know what these drivers are going to do until you get to it. There's Fernandez serving his drive-through penalty as well, or his stop go 30. So an extra pit stop being added for these poor souls. McCullough has cleared both of his stops right away. That is, I don't know if that's mildly impressive or not, but he's going to be doing 43, or let's say 45 minutes on one set, so God help him. We just saw Lemaire pick up a drive-through for track limits. Portis in the pits, obviously. Very easy to pick up a drive-through here at Misano. You know, you see some of the faster guys, how much they cut the course, and you go, how in the world are you not picking up drive-throughs? But then you see other people say, well, if they can do it, I can do it, and then before you know it, your engineer's telling you you've got to serve a drive-through. And Lemaire, unfortunately, is one such driver, so hopefully he comes in and serves that very soon. Fernandez just getting out of the pits with the stop go 30 being cleared. Craig Migliori, not the race he wants. 6 laps off the lead car, but he's sticking with it. You got to give him props for that. Even if you're dead last, you're doing better than everyone that didn't show up, and if anybody retires, you're doing better than them. So that's kind of the, especially as a new driver, it can be pretty daunting here. When you have all these names that you've never seen before. Maybe there's a friend or two of yours, but for the most part, you're kind of just going in on your own. And, well, unfortunately, that is how it's going to be for the number 11. As we see the 5'10 of Lemaire. This is not a battle for position. This is McDonald actually being blue flagged. So he's, well, doesn't matter. Lemaire in the pits, probably for the drive-through. And then maybe the next time he comes around, he'll get the pit stop cleared. That first stop cleared. Andrew Wilson coming, well, not out of the pit lane. I gotta say, the little green lights right there is very misleading, because you think that first line is your pit exit. It's not. It's all the way down at the next set of lights. That has caught me out on a handful of occasions. Jane Hernandez with a move for P10 on Edwards. Just more speed for the 888. He'll carry that well in through the corner on exit, and that should be his. We'll see if he's able to hold on to it as this race progresses. Portis mixing it with Carpenter and Wilson. All these guys clearing that first stop. But it is Carpenter that leads the way. Edwards, not done with Hernandez just yet, is keeping it going in Lemaire. I just saw it stop, go 30, speeding in the pit lane as if it couldn't get any worse for the 5'10". I mean, there's ways it could get worse, but I'm not going to say them because I know the powers that I have, and I have to remind myself of that because it happens not just here. It also happens at work when I comment on the state of the evening, let's say, with the public I deal with. So I make sure to watch my mouth in that regard. But these two here, Hernandez, Edwards, 10th position, still 2 stops to clear. And we should be seeing some pretty solid battles, or at least a nice simmer from both of these. Drivers Frizza and Flores are in the pit lane together, and it is Frizza who is going to get out of there first. Jose Flores right then and there. We'll see if there are any more stop-go 30s for speeding infringements. I always say, regardless of what circuit you're racing at, even if you've raced at it a million times, just practice your pit entries. It's not that hard. It takes like 5 minutes. Speaking of pit entries, Clifford, Landry, and I believe that's Lemaire. They're coming in for their first stop. We have a yellow out on circuit. Who is that going to be? It's the 11 of Craig Migliori. I think we'll just let him. We'll let him live. We're not going to harass him too much. But Clifford's in, Landry, Rasco, Keogh. So yeah, just about 20 minutes to go. We are going to be seeing a lot of these drivers get their first stops done. Lovering stays out. Now Lovering could see pace that the others don't have. He has a couple of options here. Either gets an incredible in-lap and somehow gets out ahead of Clifford, Landry, Rasco, maybe Lanham, or he stays out and tries to build a sizable gap and then come into the pits, and then his second pit stop, he would probably, if he goes for the second option, that this, I guess, second stint of tires is gonna be much shorter. Not that he would mind, but that would be my guess for him. He's done it before in the past. There's no reason he can't do it again. We'll have to see. I'm not his strategist. He's his own strategist, and I'm just along for the ride. So we'll see if he comes in. And he does. So we're going to keep an eye on Lanham. So Lanham actually got out ahead of Hernandez and Clifford. So he will be gaining this position 100%. Clifford will as well, and Hernandez. I don't think Landry's close enough. I do not think Landry is close enough to take advantage of that. Lanham comes in. Oh, Lanham never pitted. Oh, that makes sense. Same with Hernandez. That's why I was confused. I'm like, why are these guys so far up? Okay, Jonathan Clifford. He's just at the back end of the circuit right now. Lovering's still in the pits. We'll pull up the track map. Keep an eye on the 999 of Clifford. He is going to get out, or he is going to pass Lovering in the pit lane. Landry should as well. Lovering just starting to get out of the pit lane now. Does Rasco take advantage of this? Yes, he does. He will. Same with Carpenter. Portis. Oh, he might. Lovering may come out either in the thick of this or right behind it. And it looks like it is possibly going to be right behind that exit line. So far ahead. And he's going to come out behind the trio. He is just so far back. If there was ever a time to put these fresh tires to good use and really start closing things up, it would be right now. Behind Wilson, Portis, Carpenter, navigating a blue flag. Just up ahead is Rasco. The last of the podium drivers for the time being. 36 minutes to go here at Misano. I think we won't be seeing a lot of big moves for now. We may just have some relaxed racing before we get to those final stops of the race. But right now, it's really Keogh and Flores for debating over position 10. Both making very good arguments. Speaking of arguments, we got a little bit of a spat over position number 8 between Sanchez and Frizza, just behind, again, Keogh and Flores. This one's a lot closer, though. Only by a couple of tenths, but still close enough to keep it interesting. Frizza just seems to be right place, wrong time. You see, you want to be this close going into a braking zone, not in the middle of it. And he's just going to get a little bit awkward on the corner, later on the brakes, throws it in. But Sanchez carries so much more speed there and gets out of dodge. Let's check in. Ooh, we're starting to get a bit of a pack forming, a bit of a four-man group right now. The gaps to all these cars, from Rasco to Carpenter, over to Portis, down to Wilson, is roughly the same. Just behind, you do see Nelson there in the 38. And I believe behind him, I think it's Lemaire? Or no, that might be Lovrink. Lovrink. Where is he? He's close. This blue flag here for Nelson. He's not gonna fight it. Flash there from the 52, saying please get out of the way. I don't want to kill either one of us. And Nelson, out of the way, does not want to impede any sort of progress. He knows that a certain someone's on a mission, and he does not want to be the one to make it just fall apart. Better to live to fight another day. Mercado's going to be coming into the pit lane here. And Kenneth Portis still just keeping it pinned in not quite a threatening spot, more just an annoying spot for Carpenter, because no matter what, that Honda's still going to be sitting in the same spot that it was at the start of the lap. It's going to be the same spot at the end of the lap. And he knows it. But as we all know, flames make your car at least 10 horsepower faster, and that's why Portis has those on the front, definitely not from the Dragon in front. We do see the 11 of Migliori getting out of the way for everybody. Good moves there from blue flags. And there is Lovrink just entering the shot. That Audi. Would not be surprised if Lovrink finds a way to just weasel onto the podium. But he has to pick off this group. Wilson, Portis, Carpenter, and Rasco. Landry's out of the question. Same with Clifford. It's not going to be easy. But he has cleared every back marker currently, so it is going to be straight on racing until then. Austin Carpenter, we'll check out the back of Rasco right now, because it'll give you a very good view of what's happening exactly. And it looks like Carpenter just got the corner a little bit wrong, and he's going to lose so much time, just hemorrhaging all that ground he built up, and that might leave him vulnerable to Portis. A little bit of weaving. I think more just a friendly gesture than malicious practice. Oh, and, I thought Wilson was going to go for something. That might actually work in his favor. That does scare Portis off of his line a little bit. But everything in the Honda to stay in 5th position. And while all this has happened, Lovrink inching closer. Stalking his prey, slowly moving his way up. It's just, he just moves up enough so when you check the first time, it doesn't look that bad. You check the next lap, it doesn't look that bad. You take your eyes off him for a little bit, and all of a sudden, he's right there. And speaking of right there, it's Frizza. I thought he was going for a move on Sanchez. These two guys are going to fight to the flag. I don't know if we'll see any last lap heroics, but these two have been very intertwined. 34-14 for Sanchez on his last, 34-24 for Frizza. I think it's just been flipping back and forth between who gets a faster lap, and it's been like that for a good long while. 17 laps into this race, neither driver giving up, neither driver even getting a move. And if you're Sanchez, that's great. He does not want to make a move as he gets just a little bit loose there. The McLaren really showing why she is a very particular girl. You get it just a little bit wrong, that back end stepping out on you, and if you're Sanchez, you have more than enough experience to catch it. comes Nelson. He'll be playing back marker. Now Sanchez has a little bit of guesswork to do. How quickly does he catch up to Nelson? Where does he catch up? Can he use him as a screen to hold up Frieza? That's the questions he's going to be asking right now. And in the meantime, Loverink has gotten around the... Wilson. How did this happen? So this is turn 2. Oh, Wilson just got loose out of turn number 2 and still struggling with speed. Loverink looking to the outside. Carries more speed into the corner. Gets a little bit of a wiggle there. Same with Wilson. Wilson actually ends up getting the worst of it, losing the most speed. So Loverink dispatches one. Eyes up the next. And it's going to be the Honda. Not a car that he has had to deal with very much, nor a driver. But you can bet he is gonna be having a blast with this. There's a race for position. No, that's Hasser. I think his good friend Jonathan Clifford through. Clifford, 19 laps so far, 1:33.01. Are we gonna see the 32? I'm not certain. It's gonna be tough if it happens. It's gotta happen on the next set of tires. Sanchez, Frieza, yellow flags. For what exactly? I didn't see it. I think it was the 38. Oh, it might have been Nelson just getting out of the way, so that wasn't really anything spin-worthy. But Sanchez, you gotta give it up. This man has been under immense pressure for several laps, and without fail, has managed to keep Frieza at bay. We have just passed the 30-minute mark of this 1-hour race. And 8th place is not going to be settled at all. A lot of these positions are kind of in limbo right now. We could be seeing some changes once these final pit stops are cleared. But for right now, these guys battling it out. And look at these gaps. Rasco to Carpenter, Portis, Loverink, Wilson. The same. Basically the exact same gap for all of these drivers. Maybe a little bit more from 4th to 5th and 5th to 6th, but if I know anything, it's gonna close up rather quickly. At least for one such driver. You wonder if Portis knows what's coming. He probably does. And he might be thinking what his plan is gonna be. Does he try to defend against Loverink? Does he try to hold him up? Or does he let him go? It's not going to be an easy question to answer in the slightest. And Sanchez has to worry about his pit stop. When does he come in? Because if he comes in, Frieza will most likely have to respond immediately. And if he can catch him off guard, he might be able to take advantage of that, force Frieza into a mistake in his outlap, and he doesn't actually have to, because the back marker of, I believe that's Migliori, it is, causing all sorts of problems here. So right on board. So he goes around the outside. Oh, and it's just into the rear quarter panel. Frieza spun around. Migliori, I don't think that was intentional. But that is going to be Frieza done. He can't do anything against that. Kyo's going to grab the position. Sanchez can breathe easy now. You hate to see it happen like that, but unfortunately, that's just how it is. Frizza's going to have to play recovery at this point. He's still in the top 10, but you know he wanted that 8th position. Maybe he can grab 9th by the end of it. Now, look at this. What is this gap that's happening? Rasco has gotten away. He has left Carpenter and Portis to their own devices, while Loverink on just a charge. As I say that, he gets a little bit loose, but that's okay, because he catches it. But Loverink, oh, he's so close to this. He knows his opposition. Weighing his options, Rasco picks up a drive-through. too much track cuts for the officials, and Rasco is going to fall down. So that'll promote Loverink into the top 5. But right now, he wants to do it on track, not through a drive-through. Ooh, different line. He's going to try to switch it back. Straighter exit doesn't work. You heard those back tires spin just a little bit. And that'll give Portis a chance to just have a moment to himself. As we see a yellow flag come out. I think that was... Oh, that's the 42. That's Mercado. Off at the 1-2 complex of turns. And just like that, it seems like no matter what Loverink does, if he makes a mistake, it doesn't matter, because he's going to catch back up within a few corners. Alright, so there's 1, there's 2. Okay, so that was McDonald going in, that was Portis. Ooh, Portis almost going into the back there of McDonald, that was close. So, Loverink, Carpenter. They have to make a decision. Do they come in this lap? Do they stay out? If they're coming in, big push from both of these. If they don't, it's going to be hopefully a gradual building of a lead. Oh, Carpenter, something's going on with him. That Mercedes is not looking too hot right now. I don't think the tires are too old. They shouldn't be. I don't know how hard he's been pushing, but it should not be enough to really degrade the tires as much as I'm thinking. And Rasco just up ahead. Now, Rasco has 3 laps to serve his drive-through. I think he may stay out as long as he can. But I would not be surprised if he comes in on this lap. Just get it out of the way, worry about your next pit stop, and then just go from there. So there's been a lot of problems for drivers tonight here at Misano. But just under 23 minutes to go here. Clifford leads from Landry. Rasco comes in. Carpenter comes in. So Rasco's going to clear his drive-through, and he's going to make sure he gets it slowed down. You wonder if he did. Hopefully he did, because if he gets to stop and go 30, that's going to be a huge pain. So that'll promote Loverink into 3rd. So he is going to stay out. He's going to stay out long. This is going to be a very big stint here from the 52. Landry. He is a long ways away. About 10 seconds or so up the field. He's in a very good spot, and just under 10 seconds from him is Clifford, who is navigating some back markers. I believe that's Mercado. It is. So Mercado getting out of the way. Not wanting to hurt a driver. Faster driver, of course, so he will just keep going because, well, better to get out of the way and not be a problem. So he's down in 21st position. That's half of his race number, of his car number, so I don't know. I'm trying to find positives for him. It's been a bit rough for him. Sanchez and Keogh. This is an interesting one. We don't see these two together very often. Both still have 1 pit stop. The field, the entirety of the field, minus those green bars, have 1 pit stop to clear, and it's going to be too much speed there for Sanchez, but can he make it work? Keogh has an inside line down the back straight. Oh, Sanchez, I thought he was going to go for a move, but he is going to back out of it. I talked about those 2 corners being very easy to lose time on. It's Sanchez showing us exactly what can happen. So Keogh will slide up into 5th. Passer picks up a drive-through. And I don't think... No, there is Bandera coming in to the pit lane for his final stop of the evening. We'll check in with Lemaire. He's got Andrew Wilson behind him. Frizza's coming into the pit lanes as well. He puts that pit limiter on very early. So his last stop, we'll see where he comes out. Clifford, Landry, and Loverink. Oh, there's Landry. He was 10 seconds up ahead. Now it's slowly coming down. Now it's 9 seconds. I mean, I don't know if Loverink's going to be able to clear 2 back markers. You got Hasser there in the Ferrari. I don't know. It's going to be tough. But Landry might be looking over his shoulder soon enough. Oh, Hasser, that was a little awkward. Thankfully, Loverink was able to just pass by. No problems there. Lanham's in the pit lane for his final stop. There goes Loverink. Loverink comes in just behind him. Hasser. This is going to be for his drive-through, though. This is not going to be for his final pit stop of the evening. Lanham is pitting. Migliori getting his last stop out of the way. We've got Frizza coming out of the pit lane. McDonald picking up a drive-through. I think because he let the 259 of Edwards through. He went off track. The game decided that was too much, so he's going to serve that. I want to check. McCullough is doing better than his teammate, who's in a higher class. And that guy has a drive-through. See, this goes to show you, you don't have to be the fastest. You just got to be consistent. Right? It's better to be consistently bad than having a rather spotty track record of being good. Yeah, that's what I tell myself. But for McCullough over McDonald, that's good news. I'm sure that that Discord will be having some fun banter being thrown back and forth, if we can call it banter. And McDonald, gonna get that cleared. Keogh for his last pit stop. Portis is gonna come out ahead of Loverink. And Loverink right back down to 6th position. Behind, oh, he's ahead of Carpenter and Portis, so that pit stop worked out beautifully for him. Keogh's gonna be safe. Rasco, Sanchez, Wilson, Landry, Clifford have to pit. I swear, yeah, Wilson is coming in. I was going to say, I'm looking over at broadcast controller, and it says in. So all that's left for pit stops is Clifford, Sanchez, Rasco, Edwards, Hassard, Nelson, Lemaire, and Mercado. And there is Sanchez. Speak of the devil, he doth appear. Does Rasco come in? Yes, he does. So your front runners are out of there. There's Dave Hasser, his final stop of the evening. Jaden Hernandez is coming out. He'll be rejoining in 13th position. I don't think he's going to be overtaken again by the time he gets on the power. He should be fine. We'll check out the back. Yeah, he's all by himself. There's nothing he's got to worry about. So Hernandez from 12th to 13th. It's one position. It's whatever. No big deal there. Wilson out of the box. Same with Landry. He's getting to the end of the pit lane just now. Sanchez finally getting those Pirellis on and getting out of there. Rasco still on the jack, still getting the car serviced. And he should be dropping, I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, now. Oh, timed it. Someone clip it. Oh, that was good. That was good. And there's Hasser getting out of the pit stall as well. Edwards in the background getting his final stop sorted out, and Jonathan Clifford as well. The first pit box as always, and he is going to be getting done there. So we'll see where he comes out, because depending on the gap, there's Landry, Loverink, long way back. Let's just see. Oh yeah, he's going to be safe. The 710 of Landry, he's not going to make it back in time. So for Jonathan Clifford, this is a perfectly timed pit stop, because if Landry does get back, I don't think he's not gonna be close. He's not gonna be close at all. Loverink, though, has got a brilliant strategy. He's not getting away from Carpenter as quickly as he would like, but that doesn't matter because he knows that he's gonna take just little bits of time away from Carpenter, and that's gonna add up. I wouldn't say quickly, but it will certainly add up in due time. And he's got a blue flag ahead of him. There's Portis. He's in 5th position. So Jonathan Clifford comes out in the lead. Landry. Is he? Oh no, that was Nelson. I was like, there's no way he's on Clifford already. Where is Loverink? Loverink isn't that far behind. He's just about 6 seconds, which has been slowly coming down. It was 10 and then it was 9. I stopped paying attention to it. It became 6. There's McCullough letting the 52 through. And he's going to possibly hold up Carpenter a little bit. He wants to race. He doesn't want to lose time, but he knows he has to get out of the way. The flashing headlights from the Mercedes saying, get out of the way. I've got things to do, and you're hindering me. I've got someone behind me who wants my position. I can't let that happen. Finally, McCullough's going to let one through. Is he going to let Portis through? Possibly. If he's going to let Wilson through, it's not going to be till later. But Austin Carpenter, at the very least, can use McCullough as a bit of a defensive lineman to keep Portis back. And as I say that, McCullough steps out of the way. Caster Kerr strikes again. Oh, Nelson, final pit stop for him. Very late in the race, just under 14 minutes to go. He'll put that pit limiter on very early. So Lemaire has to still do one pit stop. And he's actually under threat right now. McDonald's gonna give us some possible action here at the back of the field. Oh, he's so much faster. At least it looked like it. It was probably just the net code of the game. Later on the brakes, though, McDonald's through one right-hand turn, through another, right under the wing there of the 510. Does Lemaire stay out? Does he come in? He is going to go in. So McDonald, we'll give him points for the entertainment. We'll give him points for the overtake because technically Lemaire wasn't in the pit lane just yet. Now he is. Nelson still in there. I thought he was going to be coming out soon. So that is just Mercado, the 42 McLaren that has to pit still. Just under 13 minutes to go though, so it's not going to be a huge problem if he doesn't come in right now. And there is Jonathan Clifford ahead, leading this race by a pretty significant margin. Just 10 seconds separates himself from Landry. I know I say just 10 seconds, but that's still an impressive number. And we'll see if that grows anymore by the time we get back around. Now, Loverink, 5 seconds behind Landry. It's gone down. If it's a second per lap, we could be seeing a possible fight for second right at the end. But it's going to take a lot of work on Landry's part, or on Loverink's part rather, because Landry is not someone to be counted out. Landry does not give up his positions easily. He knows that if you're going to take that position from him, you are going to give everything and then some more. And even then, you're probably not going to guarantee a spot. Loverink on a mission. Can he make it happen? Keogh on the back of Sanchez now. This is 7th place up for grabs. McLaren versus Aston Martin. Whoa, loose there. Caught beautifully by the 33. The double right-hander. Keogh. Slightly different lines. Early upshift. It's not going to work out. He's not going to get enough speed. He has a slipstream, though, as we head into the braking zone at the 100 board. Tighter line. Going to try to fire it on the exit as much of the track as he can. He's going to use quite a lot of it. He's going to look on the inside. Does Sanchez cover it off? Nobody slides across. That'll keep Keogh behind for just a little bit longer. Now onto the backstretch. Not giving Keogh a slipstream. Slightly weirder line from Sanchez, but Keogh doesn't get that extra speed, but it's just gonna... Oh, I thought he was gonna go for a move into the braking zone. And off the track there, I believe, was Lemaire. Kept it parked up. Good on him. Keo, look at this. He knows 7th is right there for him to grab. He's just got to find the speed, and I think he's got it out of the final corner. Here we go. Slipstream, gonna pull to the right side, gets to the braking zone. Is he gonna go down the inside? No, he's not. Stays behind Sanchez, making that McLaren as wide as possible. Out of turns 2 and 3. Brake zone, double right-hander. Keo looking for any bit of light he can, but the only light he's seeing is the one that's bouncing off the rear bumper of Sanchez. Oh, speaking of bouncing, a little bit of a hop there for the 21. Just 9.5 minutes to go. And Sanchez, will this pressure make him crystal clear, or is it gonna just crumble? It's moments like these that really put your skills as a driver to the test. Keo, a similar bit of pressure, but a very different situation. And he wants it. He is not going to let Sanchez get away this easily. If we look at the last laps, Keo, 35.030 for Sanchez, 35.047. These two are so equal. It may not be a brawl for the win, but it doesn't matter. It feels like it. 34.81 for Keo, 34.42 for Sanchez. Had some weird lines there from Keo that lost him a couple of tenths. But he knows. He knows something has to give. Sanchez, between looking at the track, at the mirror, at the time remaining, and looking at what is in front of him, what's behind him, he is desperate for that checkered flag to come out. It could not come out sooner. And for Keo, it's going to feel like there's no time at all. Looking up the grid, Clifford, 11 seconds clear of Landry. Could this be the season for the 999? He's been close a few times. It's too early to call, but it could still happen. Loverink closing in on Landry, 3.1 now. It was about 4.8 a few laps ago, but it just comes down so much more each time. Still 3 seconds is a lot of time to overcome. 7.5 minutes to go here. And what seems to be an impossible amount of time to overcome is Keo with only a few tenths to get around Sanchez. Great focus from the Mexican driver here. Everything that's been thrown at him so far, he has handled perfectly. 7 minutes to go. It is a test of endurance. We have a yellow flag. Didn't see who that was for. That was for the 11. Migliori, just not his night. I think Mercado probably won't come in. He's got one pit stop to, left in 6.5 minutes, and his next closest, or his nearest opponent is, I believe, 6 laps behind him. So he can opt to stay out. It doesn't matter. It's not going to affect him. He's a lap behind Lemaire, so that's whatever. Sanchez, Keo. That is Nelson that they are going to have to get around. That's not Nelson, I apologize. That is Mercado. Does Mercado unintentionally help his McLaren teammate? No, he doesn't. He lets both of them through. A run out wide, it's no problem. Almost into the back of Keo. And he's just going to back off of that. He does not want to cause any sort of hard feelings. Does not want to upset Keo. Not that Keo would get angry, but when you're new to the scene, you want to make a good impression. And if that means letting the faster guys just get away from you, So be it. Still plenty of races left. Mercado picks up a drive-through, and now he's got to clear that or else he'll be disqualified. Or if he doesn't, depending on how much time is left, if there's enough time for him, if he's running one... No, he's not going to have enough time. I was going to say, if there was enough time left on the race, he could maybe bypass a drive-through and just take the hit. It's not going to matter, though. Carpenter and Portis and Wilson... Ooh, hold on. These guys are very close. They have been sticking with each other for a lot of this. As we've been looking at what has been the Sanchez-Keogh show, and Lovering's passive observation, these three have been keeping each other honest. For Portis, it's better. He could settle for P5, but I know him, and he's not going to just settle. He wants everything he can get. And fourth position is one such thing that he wishes to put on the shelf. Now, up ahead, the back marker. McLaren, loose for the Honda. You can just hear those tires dragging. Lights getting flashed, Nelson getting out of the way. He'll step off the circuit, no problem there. Dave Hasser, Harold McDonald, position 16. We're getting some battles here late. This is exactly what you want to see. You want everybody keeping it interesting as McDonald slipping and sliding there on exit. Gets the McLaren under wraps and is able to stick with Hasser. Pulling in closer to the braking of 2. Crosses it over on 3. Does the inside line belong to him? He's going to be late on the brakes. On the inside there, no contact between the two. Up and over the top we look. And McDonald isn't successful, but he has a straighter exit. A bit of a slipstream will give him a few precious miles an hour. Hasser, defensive line here. Is it the over-under from McDonald? No, it's blocked off. Hasser pinning it on the apex. Keeping the 182 at bay. Doesn't want to give him any room to work with. He saw what happened. Almost lost the position. Just 2.5 minutes to go here. Sanchez with Keogh still fighting. Mercado with a stop-go 30, speeding in the pit lane. Again, it doesn't matter for him. It hasn't mattered at all. Austin Carpenter with Portis still in tow. Wilson waiting patiently in the wings, but you start to wonder, is waiting really a good idea, or do you just start pushing this car? Portis thought about it. I think he saw a little bit of light there in the tunnel, but it might have just been the reflection of his headlights. Sanchez-Keogh, this is just ridiculous how consistent these two have been. 34-39 for Sanchez, 34-32 for Keogh. And it's a touch. Keogh hits Sanchez, but stops on circuit, says, my bad, I didn't mean it, and Brian Rasco takes advantage, says, thank you very much, gentlemen, that was some fine battling, but this is my position, and Sanchez says, wait a second, this is my position, that is my 7th place you are sitting in right now. He almost went for a move. I thought he had it. I really thought he was going for it. Look at the speed here, the 21. Has to lift. Is he going to get him in around the outside? I think he will. He goes off the track, spins, and he hits Keogh as he comes back on the circuit. I don't know if that was a return of service or what. Keogh is parked up. Sanchez rolling to check on him. It was a bold move from Sanchez. It really was. Keogh's back in the pits. That might be his night. That might be too much for Keogh. Sanchez really tried to make it work around the outside of Rasco. His best effort, it didn't work. He spun, tagged up Keo, and that is just the margins you're gonna deal with in racing. Millimeter perfection. You're just slightly too early, you're just a little too wide, and stuff like that's gonna happen. You see it happen with everyone else, you feel for him, and you sit there and you say, my God, I hope it doesn't happen to me, and it always does when you least expect it. It's a heartbreaking way for this race to end, but if you're Jonathan Clifford, it's the complete opposite. Starting second, a mistake from Loverink promotes you to P1, Landry comes home in second, and Loverink, great recovery from his spin, will finish on the podium. Carpenter holding off Portis, flashing the headlights, saying, good game, great race. He'll be fourth. Portis makes it into the top 5. Wilson goes 6th overall. Brian Rasco will come around, benefiting from Sanchez, and Keo will come home in 7th position. He's more than happy with that. Here's Frizza, stuck behind one of the back markers. That's Joel Bondera. Bondera down in 15th position. A drive-through for McDonald at the end. That's going to add more time onto him. Sanchez, well, there's going to be a post-race penalty. I don't know how far that's going to put him down. I don't know where Keo's going to get classified in all of this. 9th place to Sanchez. Lanham is going to finish in the top 10. Great for him. You wonder if Hernandez might as well with the penalties. If he's not on the lead lap, it won't matter. Then it's Edwards, McCullough, Bondera, Hasser, McDonald, Keo, Fernandez, who will be crossing the line right there. Nelson, Lemaire, Mercado, Migliori. And speaking of Mercado, there he is. Didn't clear the pit stop. It doesn't matter because he's going to probably grab a minute or two. Just over 2 minutes of added penalties because he didn't clear the stop, but like I said earlier, Migliori already several laps down. It doesn't matter. And Keo, the only one that didn't cross the line. I don't know where he's going to end up, but it is an awful way to end your race. It was incredibly consistent from him and Sanchez, right on the limit and at the worst possible time. That's it. That's what's going to happen. You hate to see it. McDonald has 30 seconds added on for his drive-through. He didn't have to really worry about much of a loss of a position. I think he just loses out to Hasser, though. Oh, Keo saying in the NA chat after he got hit, his game went to the menu and he couldn't escape to anything, so he had to retire the car. Still a great battle. I'm sure they'll talk about it. That was intense. I enjoyed every second of that. That was ridiculously good. Absolutely loved it. But folks, that's gonna do it for us here tonight at Misano. It seems like whenever I race on the track, I just don't have fun, but whenever I watch a race, I'm like, this is great. This is the best. So we're going to take a look at the final results here this evening, and we'll get ready to get out of here. Get ready for the weekend. Friday's coming up. It's going to be good here. I think it's going to be good weather. You can see some ballast being added on for these drivers, but Clifford winning from position number 2. Landry, Loverink on the podium. Great effort there from the 52 to get back in a really good scoring position. That's going to help him out, but Clifford as well. Could this be the season that Clifford finally hoists the trophy, or is he going to have to settle for second best again? We'll wait and see what happens. Carpenter and Portis rounding out your top 5. Wilson, Rasco, Frizza, Sanchez, Lanham. 10th. Or that's your top 10, everyone else going through there. For the Pro-Ams, Lanham in the 8 does better than Hernandez in the triple 8. That's 1 and 2 respectively. Passers 3rd, Fernandez 4th, Nelson 5th. In the amateurs, McCullough, Migliori, 1 and 2 for them. And then for the silver class, Frizza, Sanchez, Bondera, McDonald, Mercado. Again, Mercado with just over 2 minutes added. Not that it matters. He's happy where he is. We'll be back next week for Donington Park. 1 mandatory stop, 60 minutes, and we'll see just who's got it in them to pull together a win. But before we get out of here, one final shout out to Simrigs for sponsoring Season 17 of the Sprint Series. You gotta love them. All they do out of Melbourne, Australia. All of Australia, New Zealand, you guys are going to be covered, no questions about it. Outside of that, if you send them an email, happy to do some business with you. A lot of really good products to upgrade your sim rig. See what I did there? But really, really good products. Everything you can think of. Shifters, pedals, frames, mounts, whatever you can think of, they've probably got it in store. And if you're supporting this organization via Patreon, you guys are going to be getting 5% off your in-store purchases. Sim racing isn't cheap, even at the lowest level of devices, so do take advantage of that. But again, thank you to Simrigs for sponsoring another season of the Sprint Series. Hope to see them more in the future. But folks, that is going to do it for us here tonight. Misano, proving that it can be full of excitement and unpredictability, and we saw just that here. But on behalf of myself and everybody here at the OR, we'd like to thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed your stay. Like I said, next week, Donington Park, race number 3 of the sprint season. But until then, as always, folks, stay safe, stay beautiful. We'll see you next time.